Greetings viewers and welcome back. Red-Rupee here with some more DropZone for you tonight. We are headed onto the map Landfall. Our players are Kontempt on the blue side, Anxiety on the red. Anxiety's been hanging around playing a lot of DropZone pretty consistently, and a really solid player, and Kontempt actually just knocked me out of my spot on the leaderboard. So I saw these two matched up and I figured we'd go ahead and get this match casted. We've got Widget, Vice, and Recon on Kontempt's side, and then double Gunner for Anxiety with Fury and Recon, and then a Mechanic with Widget as well. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Looking at the loadouts, actually something I don't see very often, Fury with Chaff Salvo, which gives you kind of a flare effect, a long-range vision-granting kind of war gear. Scouting is always something that I feel like is underappreciated in these sort of games. It can be so useful, especially when you're trying to block objectives or maybe catch your opponent out of position when they're farming and maybe a little low health and can't team fight. You can force them on the map, but we'll see if that comes into play at any point. Beyond that, fairly standard Recon and Widget on both sides. And the only difference, Vice is actually fairly different on Kontempt's squad from his default loadout. You can see he does have the Shredder Field and Landfall abilities. So a little more threatening than your standard Vice, because he can move around very quickly and dish out some damage as well. A little scuffle here in the center during these first engagements. Recon's launching rockets and grenades at each other while they try to farm up that first hive. Looks like Anxiety did manage to get that first core out of his opponent's hands, so I'm not sure. I didn't see if he managed to take out that hive for himself or whether Kontempt ended up with that, but both hives now down in the center. You'll see more often than not, both with higher level players, they tend to contest these central hives more than beginners who tend to just stick to their rear hives on the back line there. The reason for that, of course, is that you can if you can lock down the experience or take the cores from those central hives, you're essentially denying that from your opponent. Landfall coming in, pulverizers going down, taking a lot of damage going in there right now, Vice. Sitting at level 2, decided not to use the Shredders. Grenade volley going down, taking first blood nice and early. Kontempt with that long-range rocket barrage, almost taking out Anxiety's other other Gunner that is Recon. And a nice early point there for Kontempt with that first objective getting scored. Looks like he's going to have some time to go ahead and dunk a few cores as well. Anxiety is sitting on a couple, but of course he lost his one Gunner that was carrying one of his 3 cores, so that's going to be an extra core there for Kontempt as well, so long as he can manage to get them in. Of course, having the core is not the same as scoring the core, and as we can see, Recon's going to come in here and scare them off for the time being. Anxiety's third rig is back on the field. Fury heading down, looking like she's going to take out that bottom right hive there. Landfall coming in again, Vice screaming into effect, but unfortunately not quite quick enough to catch someone with those Shredders. You kind of want to use Vice not like you use Knockout or even Warhead, who we haven't even seen on the cast yet. But he kind of threw Vice right on top of your units. I feel like with Vice, since he doesn't have any slowdown or speed up, you want to put him behind the line and then kind of force your opponent to stay back there with Vice or run through him to retreat. Anyways, lots of back and forth still happening on the uplink right now. Grenades, rockets, all the usual stuff. Vice still looking for his opportunity to get in there. It could be very dangerous keeping these rigs up here at such low health if Vice gets in behind you and then chases you down. See, that's what he's doing. I really want to see him throw Vice behind these rigs and really sort of pincer them in there. I guess he was a little bit low health there, so maybe it felt a little dangerous going into enemy territory, as when you activate Shredder Field, it does eliminate all of your armor. So it can be sort of a double-edged sword there, but I think considering how low those 2 rigs are, it wouldn't have been too much of a gamble. But what can I say? He's still up 4-0, so it's not like things are going poorly for him. Hitting almost the 11-minute mark here, 4 minutes into the game. It looks like Anxiety's going to score his first point and get himself onto the board here. His Gunner and Mechanic hanging out in the center. He's been spreading his levels out pretty well, and of course the advantage to doing that is that your respawn times don't go up as high. The higher your level on your highest rig, the higher your respawn time is. So he was able to recover from that first rig destruction fairly quickly. Looks like, let's see, 2 on Recon, 2 on Vice. Anxiety's definitely ahead in the farming department, so as he's starting to catch up here, he's going to start to have an advantage in the game overall if Kontempt just kind of keeps harassing the uplink and not getting out there to farm as well. So you can see this kind of blue haze over the area is the chaff salvo, so you know when your opponent has vision on you. At least if you're paying attention, you do. It's something you're definitely going to want to keep in mind, especially against better players who will find your weakened farming rigs and come after them, I'm sure. Most specifically, with Boss Slayer on the board, I'd expect to see chaff salvos going down on the bosses from time to time if either player does start going for that big 4-point objective. So far, just clearing out the level 2 hives, and oh, it looks like, speaking of bosses, Anxiety's going to go for this top boss right now, while, yep, Kontempt has no idea, just happily farming away. Not a big deal, that first boss, especially since Kontempt is down on the southern side of the map. He will probably be able to take his own boss out as well, and sort of keep that score even there, but when you know your opponent is bossing, once you see that boss kill banner, you can either kind of head over and try to intercept them on their way back home, or just start dunking a bunch of cores since you know your opponent isn't nearby. You see, he just dropped off 2 cores from his gunner and tank, and they're going to head down and boss. Meanwhile, Widget is just going to shift-click, queue up all those core uploads, and get himself a larger gap for Anxiety. Oh my gosh, Vice taking tons of damage right now, playing it very dicey. Oh my goodness, one more attack. Nope, the boss doesn't quite take him out. But that's the thing with using Shredder Field. I feel like if you're going to boss with Shredder Field, move a different rig up to take some hits while Shredder Field's activated, because like I said, it does eliminate all of your armor. And that boss does go down, so it's 1 boss for either side. Rocket Barrage coming in on Widget. Widget dodges the stun, although I'm pretty sure she does have Logic Rerouter, though it's not unlocked, so that stun could have spelled certain doom for Widget. And now it looks like Anxiety's going to start putting some pressure on Total Vision. I don't know, it looks like Widget's going way back around trying to get herself back home. Honestly, I would have just sent Widget out to contest one of these towers, and then he wouldn't have to fight so hard right here. Widget goes down. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make her way back to the dropship, got intercepted by a couple gunners, and stunned for her trouble. Rocket's going down. Vice got pretty beat up there, and Anxiety's pretty much just got Kontempt trapped in his base. There's nothing he can really do. Stuck on the dropship while Widget heads down to lock down that last vision tower and earn a couple points, close the 7-4 gap between Anxiety and Kontempt. Vice is coming in here looking for landfall, does get in there and starts putting some pressure on Widget. Meanwhile, Recon for Kontempt is trying to contest with both of these gunners. Vice is actually fairly beat up right now. Oh no, he activates the Shredder Field. That's not what you want to do when you're that low health. Widget activates her heal bubble, and that's going to be just about it, I think. Widget and Fury. Fury actually puts out some pretty significant damage with that Assault Plasma. We're seeing it right here. It's short range, but does crazy DPS. And, oh my gosh, Total Vision goes down with a double kill on top of it for Anxiety. Anxiety's probably going to be able to dunk a couple cores pretty easily right now. He is very beat up, but Recon, I think, could go in there and drop off a core or two. Instead, he's choosing to farm, trying to knock out these alphas, I guess, for himself. But it's, oh my gosh, he's playing so dangerous. Oh, I thought he was going to lose that rig to the Kavash. But with a double kill down, like, if there's cores on the field, I feel like you want to turn in those cores more than farm. You can turn them in uncontested. Of course, you can sort of get an advantage on level if you cash in your farm right there, and it would be a different story if maybe Alpha Strike was on the final 4-point objective, but this time around it was Boss Slayer, so he could have either gone and healed up and hit the boss, or he could have just turned in some of those cores he was hanging on to. Even that one that Widget just turned in, he could have denied that, but anyways, it's all said and done. 8-6 right now. Second boss is about to go down here for Anxiety, making the final boss. Once your opponent has 2 bosses, it becomes very dicey because you're just trying to keep an eye on both boss spawns, and if you don't know exactly where your opponent is, it gets very difficult and very stressful to try to block those 4 points. That said, Kontempt's been holding the lead throughout most of the game here, now dropping that level 3 hive. Another 3 cores down on the map, and it looks like we're just going to be ping-ponging bosses here yet again. Both times, unfortunately, for Anxiety that he's taken out that boss, Kontempt has been in a position that he can just turn right down and take out his own southern boss as well. So, not really any counterplay between the two players for these boss fights, but it's going to be 2-2, and I'm sure that Boss Slayer may well decide the game. Those 4-point objectives can definitely do that, especially when a match is as close as this one is right now. Anxiety now full up with cores again. Oh, Recon needs to pick up. There he goes. And it looks like maybe a team... Nope, not a team fight at the uplink because Kontempt is just hanging out, farming away. But Anxiety looks like he might be able to take the lead there because Contempt's not in a position to contest the uplink right now, and Anxiety has 4 cores sitting out right now. And dropping cores on his gunners so his gunners can move up to defend while Widget just chain uplinks all of these. That's definitely a nice strategy. I often see beginner players kind of just sitting there with all 3 of their rigs. If you can control the uplink, drop your cores behind it, queue up those uploads, and let your fighters kind of keep people off of your back while you get those free uploads. So here we go. Contempt's moving in with all 3 of his rigs, drops the heal bubble right at the beginning of the engagement, whiffs on the particle condenser right there, but it looks like it doesn't really matter right now. Oh, stun that combined with the rocket barrage. That was a beautiful combination. Fury's ult can be so very effective, that kind of rushing AoE stun on top of the high damage rocket barrage ability. Recon managed to stealth out of there just barely. Vice almost going down for his trouble as well. Positron comes down a second time and connects at least to the point of preventing the rig from going down. 8-11 right now as the team fight continues. Kontempt moving back onto the field after those cores have gotten uploaded. I'm not sure if he's going to fight or just try to grab that tower and continue uploading. Try to close the gap that has suddenly turned against him with 8-11 in favor of Anxiety. Both players at level 10. The only ultimate that's on the field is Fury's stunning entry and, of course, Orbital Strike from Recon. Oh man, instead of uploading, it looks like Kontempt's just going to try to close the game out with Boss Slayer here, get his 1-point advantage. He doesn't want Anxiety to get this at all, of course, considering he's already down by 3 points. If Anxiety took that boss out, it would have been all she wrote. Anxiety drops the flare, but just a second too late. Recognizes that the boss may have been in trouble, and suddenly Kontempt is back in the lead again, getting back in this. 11-12 could still go either way with 3 minutes left, although Kontempt already has 3 more cores on the field. He also has 3 on the back line there, so if Anxiety doesn't get up here to start defending the uplink, it's going to be very difficult for him to close the game out, considering that he's now on the back foot here and farming away while uploads are starting to happen. Once it gets into the last few minutes of the games, you really have to be aware of the timing, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to get the uploads in as needed. Once you're on the back foot, the other player can pretty much just harass you and keep you off of the uplink without having to do any further uplinks themselves. Lots of chain uplinks going on here. Kontempt sending Widget back. Honestly, at this point in the game, I would keep Widget up here to kind of lock out the uplink. 11-15. I guess even with three cores on the field, I guess that's not too much of a threat, but stunning entry right out of the gate might spell the end for Vice. He falls back for the time being. Fury trying to get out of there. Oh, he goes down, unfortunately. A big hit from Recon right there. He actually has the precision artillery software, so his rocket's doing a bit of extra damage. Oh man, and it looks like Anxiety throws in the towel. Oh, that's unfortunate. Can't finish out the game. I guess he kind of felt like with a rig down, there was no way he was going to be able to close that gap in the last couple minutes of the game there. But wow, I actually didn't expect Anxiety to go down there, but we have been seeing Kontempt playing and getting up on that leaderboard, so he's apparently a force to be reckoned with as well. So let's see, let's look at the timeline. It was pretty back and forth. Kontempt was holding it for quite a while. Anxiety, of course, kind of losing it at that Boss Slayer point in those last few minutes of the game. But some good team fights there, and all around a solid match. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, suggestions, all that sort of thing, send me some replays or anything like that if you can. I guess there's not a way to send replay files in this game yet, but if you've had a good match, just shoot me an email. I'll look it up. I'll try to get it on the channel. Thanks for watching. This is Red-Rupee. I'll catch you guys next time.